Today I'd like to talk about meditation, and I'll start with Vipassana meditation. So my experience with Vipassana, as it's taught by Goenka, which is the more prolific style, is that I did um, my first 10-day retreat 3 years ago in 29 Palms, Southern California, and then another one the following year, and then my third was in Puna on the Big Island of Hawaii. So 3 10-day retreats, and I would do more, and I'll get into that. So the Vipassana style is actually, as the 10-day retreat goes, is actually two different styles that they combine. The first being a breath awareness, and the point of that, as they say, is to sharpen your mind, sharpen the focal point of your mind, and then it goes into the Vipassana meditation, which is really about body awareness, looking very microscopically at points on the exterior and eventually the interior of the body. So um, another major component of the Vipassana program is that not just that it's 10 days, which is a strict requirement, but that it's in noble silence. So you are allowed to speak with the coordinators. There's usually one, and then a group manager, but you're not supposed to speak, touch, or make eye contact with anyone else. And that's a critical part. Now, obviously, of course, there's no electronics, no cell phones, no laptops, and they discourage. Well, they ban, but they can't force you not to have any other reading materials or even taking notes, like no writing materials. And something that's really, really important about that is that we just don't realize, because we're so accustomed to it, how much noise we generate every single second, all the time. Um, and having this opportunity to go into an environment of noble silence where you stop creating information around you, it really, really lets your mind and your energy field, or however you want to describe it, really open up in a very expansive way. So my experience the first time, and why I kept going back, was within the first 3 days. I think it was on the, some maybe like afternoon of the third day, with my eyes only about half open, and they tell you to keep your eyes completely closed, but I had my eyes about half open, so I could see in front of me, I could see other students and the wall and whatever, and I was also having full-on crystal clear visuals, which was a really big surprise to me. I mean, like psychedelic level plant medicine visuals. And that was a critical moment for me in my own spiritual journey, because it made me realize that plant medicine is not adding anything to me. It's only unlocking and allowing things that are already available. So that was a really important lesson for me to integrate. And then the other really profound thing is just that, yeah, it's available to everyone all the time. It's just a matter of reducing the noise to such a level that you can start to experience this stuff. So that was a real fun and exciting experience to be had, but that's really not the point. The point is of Vipassana is to, as they say, pull out the roots of defilements. That's a word that you'll hear over and over again, is defilements. Um, and so what happens is that when you go into this really deep scanning, you start at the top of the head and you scan all the parts, and like inch by inch, dot by dot, and then microscopic, point by point, over and over and over and over again, for whatever reason that happens, and it's still really not clear to me, but something about bringing your awareness so intensely on your present being, it allows anything that's stuck there to move. Now, I'll give you an example of what was so profound for me. I think it was maybe the sixth or seventh day. I remember all the meditations, and you meditate like, you know, the program is for 8 or 9 hours, maybe like maybe even more, like maybe 10 hours a day in 1 hour intervals, just over and over and over and over again. You kind of lose track of day and night uh, because it's dark in the meditation room. So I kept having all this anger come up, and I was like, "Fuck! Like, what is this? There's so much anger, like, and not just like a sensation of anger, but thoughts of anger towards people specifically. One really specific was my dad. I just kept thinking of like being angry at him and wanting to fight him and all this stuff, and it's so weird, you know. I feel like I'm in a good relationship with him right now, and so okay, it is what it is. And then and then I'm meditating and scanning and blah blah blah, and then I and then at some point, just this spot, just solar plexus area, it just something, it was almost like it didn't feel like something moved as much as something just immediately became a vacuum, like there was something and then just and then to nothing, and then disappeared, and this hole opened up from the space that this something was occupying. And I was like, oh, you know, like this physical, very physical sensation. And then I just started crying. And I'm not, I mean, I wish I was more emotional. I wish I was more in touch with that, but I am not. And so for me, I just started crying, and I was like, what is going on? And I started being conscious about not disturbing the other people in the room, and also a little bit self-conscious about crying, because that's probably one of the reasons why it's hard, is, you know, having this stupid idea of being tough. Anyway, so I went outside to a bench outside the meditation hall, and I just kept crying for like another 10 minutes, and one of the guys came and checked on me, and then crying, and I was like, whoa, okay, I don't really get it. It seemed like I'm just sitting in a dimly lit room with a bunch of people suffering. Uh, but whatever this process is, it's legit. And um, yeah, there's a lot of power there. And then in my second Vipassana, um, I, you know, all the other stuff and the quieting down and cool visuals, but I felt like, and again, it was around the sixth or seventh day, where they'll tell you people want to leave on the second day and the seventh day, because those are the two kind of turning points when you really hit this wall of struggle, and you have to just stick it out. Do not succumb to the struggle. Persist. You know, make a commitment to be there and stay. So so I had this experience sixth or seventh day, and it felt like a skin was being pulled off of me, and it started at my spine and went around my back like a shell, like, but it was a skin that was being pulled off me, and it didn't hurt, but it had like the weirdest kind of like prickly tingle. It's like, ugh, and then just gone. And I was like, yeah, it was just amazing experience. And you know, it's not like that was just happening over and over, and I don't know if that happened to anybody else, but my interpretation of that experience is that that happened, that experience is a way for me to let go of some kind of energetic shell that was stuck, and that's just the way I happened to experience it. But it was absolutely amazing. I'm very grateful for that. And then the third time, I got really, really sick, which is another detoxing effect. But this one was much more physical. I actually had the flu pretty bad, but again, I was like, I'm not leaving. Made a commitment to stay here. I'm staying. And in the facility in the 29 Palms is amazing. It's like a hotel. You know, I got my own bathroom, my own room, air conditioning, all that. In Pune, it's not an official facility, and unfortunately, if I didn't mention already, it's covered in lava now from the recent lava flow. Um, but non-attachment. Um, so when you're there, you're camping, so you're in a tent. So there I am in a tent for probably from the end of day one to the beginning of day five with a fever. And I told the guys, I'm like, I don't want to leave, but I can't sit up there and I don't want to get other people sick. So I was basically just delirious in my tent for about 4 days, and I would go in and get some food and some tea, and then go back to my tent twice a day, and just it. I, it's hard to describe it because people can be delirious and hallucinogenic on flus, but this was another level, and the whole time it was a very deep meditation of itself, which was profound, and I really appreciated it. And when I came out of it, the level of cleansing that I had felt was so deep that I had the sense of I I got more than I asked for, and I'm ready to go home. Now that being said, of course, the group leader said, no, you made a commitment and we want you to stay and all this. And so I did, and it was fine. I enjoyed staying, with a little bit of struggle, but I don't feel like I got that much out of the last couple days. I ended up, because I live here on the Big Island, after it was done, I ended up staying an extra couple days to help them do the cleanup and service, because I felt like that was, good karma for that. Um, so one thing that I don't like about Vipassana is that the instruction is not live by someone who can be there to ask questions directly. All the instruction is basically given through video of Goenka from the 90s. He has since passed away, and so I don't know. There's just something kind of dead about that. It would just feel better if there was somebody actually giving the talks. And the other problem is, because they're videotapes, you go to your second 10-day course is identical to the first one. It's the same videos. So there's that. But I get a lot of people asking me about my meditation practice. How do I meditate and what do I do? And I would say that the bulk of my meditation practice at this point comes from the Vipassana style of breath and body awareness. Um, it's just of itself profound and powerful, and combined with plant medicine, it's out of this world. And I've had a lot of experiences with plant medicine journeys where it just seemed like I was just going way deeper and way far out than other people in the ceremony. And I had asked the facilitator about that, like, what's going on here? Why is this happening? And he said, it's because of your meditation practice. So, take that for what you will. I also want to talk about the another style of meditation that I used to do a lot of and not so much anymore, which is what was called source meditation. And that style was basically an eye gazing, so your eyes would be open, and the whole point of that was to focus on light. And the idea there is, when well, to go back to Vipassana, focusing on the breath and the body is bringing your mind to the present moment. There's no story. There's nothing but what's true. The breath in the body, sensations that's happening right now, and that's true. What's also true is the more subtler information of the light, the the light that is around us and composes reality. And that's where you focus your attention for this other kind of eye gazing source meditation. So so what my teacher had told me was, I said, well, why not just try to be silent? Why not just try to be quiet in the mind? And he said, it doesn't really work that way. You try to make, like, nature fills a vacuum, or what's the quote is, nature abhors a vacuum. So instead of creating a vacuum in your mind and then having to constantly struggle to push things out, what you do is you create the most subtle scaffolding in the space to hold it open, and the most subtle scaffolding that there is light. So you just meditate on the light, and that has absolutely unbelievably incredible visuals, and it can also be a physical experience and get you into very ecstatic tantric states. um, Now, my experience of it was not as profound as with the Vipassana, although I did that earlier in my personal evolution. So potentially I could go back and get even further. Um, but it did seem like in the way that we were practicing the source meditation, it was a lot more focused on the experience and less on healing, which I'm much more of an advocate of. Heal yourself and the experiences will come. Connect yourself to source or God or spirit, and all the other things will fall out of that. Don't worry about trying to become psychic. You know, that's more of a immature pursuit. um, and then the last thing on this topic that I wanted to talk about and address this a little bit with the noble silence is that there's a big difference between quiet and silence. So quiet is a very relative term. You know, speaking quietly at a concert hall versus speaking quietly in a library, right? So quiet versus silence. And the main reason why this is important is that you might have somebody where you tell them, okay, sit quietly. Well, their perception of what quiet is relative to what their noise level is. And and it's just really important to be mindful of layers of quiet because they are not silence, such that you don't sit there with the radio or TV off for a couple minutes and then say, okay, it's quiet, I don't feel any different. Well, it doesn't work that way. Think about it when it's really late at night, so it's dark, you're sleeping, but then you get up because you have to go to the bathroom. Okay, so you turn the light on and it's like, ugh, it's really bright, you know, and but then okay, you use the toilet and then you turn the light back off and then everything's black. Well, that's what quiet is. It seems to be that you're looking, but there's actually just you see nothing. But you give it some time and you adjust, and then now all this information comes to you. Oh, okay, now my pupils are dilated. I can see this is where the furniture is. Don't run into that. There's the bedroom. Okay, I'm going over there. So so there's layers of quiet that need to be um, passed through, and there's the way that you do that is just to be patient with the process. You have to be patient with allowing the quiet to really settle in up until the plateau of silence. And you'll know when you get to silence because it's not silent. It's kind of a paradox, but that's another conversation. So um, I guess the main point is uh, to just be really patient with yourself when you're experiencing quiet as you're being mindful of your breath and your body.